Let me share my screen. So this would be the use case we'll be covering up today. So you're able to see my screen?
Yes, Neha.
Okay. So we are going to create a very simple application, but we don't have any UI right now. We are going to check our output, everything through the console using our whatever concepts we have learned. So the first thing we're going to do is, like, if you go to an ATM, you usually enter your or insert your ATM card. And once you insert your ATM card, it asks for your PIN. And post that, it will give you multiple options to either withdraw or to deposit or to check your balance, right? So there are multiple options to help you. And if you're not interested with any option, you can just give exit and you can take your card and come out. So basically the same thing we're trying to replicate, and where we'll be doing some kind of operations. So here, right now we can start creating the methods, but to get the input from the user dynamically, right? That is something you need to learn it. So the first part will be like to do, which we'll do it once we are done with the other aspects. So now we need to create our own class, bank operation, or you can give just online bank app, whatever class name it suits you. And you need to have some attributes which are necessary for your use case. So the scenario which we're going to perform right now is like check balance, deposit, withdraw, and debit. So all these will depend on your amount attribute. So if you have only amount, based on that, we should be good enough to do some calculation and make it assigned with the variable called balance, or with assigned as balance deposit, or to a withdrawal. So we need to have the amount which the user actually wants. So we need this as a dynamic one. And then the second thing, you need to have something called balance to do your operations. So if the amount, say if the user is giving you like, he is inserting 1,000 rupees as a deposit. If he's doing a deposit of 1,000, you need to add that to his existing balance. So you need to give some like a balance equal to balance plus that deposit. Say if he's withdrawing, then you have to give like balance minus that withdrawal amount. And basically whenever he comes to check his balance, you need to print your balance. So basically to perform any kind of operation, we are dependent on these two attributes. And apart from that, when you log into your ATM machine, whenever you insert, it will tell you your respective customer ID or the customer name for you, right? So basically you can make it hard coded, or you can also create it using your constructor. So we are dependent on these two attributes. And apart from that, let's have the customer name, and we have the customer ID, which is being unique here. So these are the predominantly required details for us to start with. And now let's see the operation: check balance, deposit, withdraw, and exit. So let's leave the exit as of now. So let's create three methods: check balance, deposit, and withdraw. So deposit, if a person is depositing some amount, we need to give him a statement, right? And if he's withdrawing, you need to tell him like, this is the withdrawal. If he's coming to check your balance, you have to return him some value, right? And if he's trying to a deposit, you're saying like your amount has the message is enough. Same thing, if you're withdrawing some amount, you need to say your amount has been withdrawn and your balance is this much. So you are going to give some string message there. So these are the three methods we're going to use now. So Kirba, can you share your screen now? I can give you the permission.
Yeah, I can share it now.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I'm able to. So let's to execute this particular use case, we need two classes. One will be your object, the model, or a plain old Java object, or a method or entity. You can call it as anything, but this is the structure. You will have it for your bank related information or the operations you're going to perform. And when you wanted to access this, you need to create an object and you have to invoke those methods. For that, you need to have a second class, which might be called as an execution program, or you can have any kind of unique name to execute it, and where you actually create your object. Right now, can you go to your bank app, Kirba? Yeah. So whenever you're creating your model structure, make sure you have your relevant attributes, you have your relevant getter and setter for that methods, and you have the methods or the functions which you're actually planning to create from that particular model. and then you need to have your constructor. So right now, this particular class has a constructor. Can you scroll a little down? Yeah, he has only one parameter constructor and not a default constructor. So I want you guys to create one sample program without having default constructor, just have parameterized constructor and try to create a default constructor object and access them and see what are the kind of issues you're facing it or any kind of difference you're noticing it. Just try it with your class not having default constructor. And second use case where you have default constructor and parameterized constructor. Just experience, are you witnessing any kind of difference with having a default and not having a default constructor? Just let me know by doing that. Now, right now, he's having a parameterized constructor. Don't worry about the keyword this. I'll let you know about it in some time. But right now, you just create the attributes. So since he has already done, the others can just start creating the attributes. If you're already done, let me know. I can go ahead. Janaki, Kirba, like you guys are done. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, so I need to create one more constructor.
No, right now you don't need to. You can just check that out of this class, like, on your personal experience.
Okay.
Okay, so let's progress with this. So you have your attributes. Can you scroll a little up? Let's check the attributes once.
Okay.
So you have your account number, you have account owner, balance. Yeah. So can you introduce one more variable called amount to get from the user in future?
Amount.
Yeah, just amount. You can have it as float or you can have it as int. Just create one variable as amount.
Because I'm okay. So
You
that is passed from this class.
Don't touch this. Create one more Pojo.
Okay.
One more Pojo class. If you're using it, you can create one more Java class.
Okay.
You can just have a class bank or public class bank, and you can have your variables. So we need only 4 things: customer name, customer ID, or you can give unique name how you want, cust name or just name, however you want. You
Okay.
can define that. And we need to have a balance attribute. You can just give private, float or double balance.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, this should be fine to start with. Now let's create one default constructor. Okay. Just create one default constructor. Are you using Notepad?
This Subliminator, like Notepad++ only.
Okay. Yeah, fine. Good. So within this, just give system.out.println and create default constructor. Just print that. Okay. Now, can you create one parameterized constructor just having customer ID and customer name?
Okay.
You can just give, you have given int, right? So int, just give int ID. Just give int ID, comma, string name. Okay, within that, just assign your ID to your cust ID. Okay, within that, before sysout, can you just give cust ID, cust ID, what you created outside your method, right? Outside your constructor. That value equal to the value as an attribute, argument you have inside. Yeah. And same thing for your cust name equal to name. Cool. Okay. Now, can you create one more block? Just open and close block. Don't need to give anything.
Okay.
After 16, just open n, and within that give system.out.println, just constructor, just print constructor. within double quotes. Yeah. And create one more block, okay, outside 19th line. Yeah. Static. Before that, just give keyword static. Static is a
Static is the
keyword.
small.
Yeah, so just give it in small case, and within that give sys out. No need of anything, just static and open brace. Yes, and within that give sys out with static. Okay, cool. Now try to create an object in your main execution or driver class. So just create a.
So it's a new class or same class I can make it up?
No, you have to create a separate class. So you already have bank function, right?
Yeah,
Something
bank
you created.
function. Yeah.
Can you open that? I think you clicked with Skype.
Yeah. This one is a different editor.
Okay. Okay. Now on top of like after main function, right? Yeah. In the first line, just create your app bank object equal to new bank. Equal to new bank. And just leave out, like if you can comment. So there's one more thing you need to learn about comments. So there are three type of comments. Okay, so this is single line comment. If you're just hiding double slash, it's a single line comment. If you want to comment a group of code, right, in the line number 10, like after slash, can you just give star, Kirba, like instead of double thing. Yeah, give star, and to the end of the line, like 24 end, like go to the end of that line, give star and then close it with a slash. So this is actually a way to comment your code if you don't want to execute it. If you want to comment only one line, use double slash. If you want to comment a piece of code, go with this structure. Now, can you just execute your program now?
Okay.
Go to the file folder and you can open the command prompt, or you can execute it from your, okay, you're using Mac, right?
Yeah. So bank.java.
Yeah, Java C, bank.java. Okay, now Java bank.java.
This one, the other file, I don't think I saved it.
I think you saved your bank, and your bank function is also saved, right?
Yeah, yes, no saving it.
Okay. Now you can just compile bank function. If you compile bank function, you should be able to execute your bank as well. That is the class you're using, invoking through other one. Yeah, bankfunc.java. Okay, now execute your bank func. So which one did first execute? The order of execution, right? So the first one you can observe with static. The second one is your constructor. Third one is your default constructor. Since parameters constructor is not invoked, or he hasn't used the object with parameter, that is not invoked. So the order of the order of execution, if you see, can you go to the code base now, Kirba? Yeah. So here you observe the static block. So if you are using static block, that gets executed first, either a static variable or a static method, whatever it might be, your static block gets executed first from the JVM architecture. So that is why if your code has to be executed predominantly on your first time and you're giving preference to it, the static comes into picture. The second thing in the line number 17, you can say that there's only open and close block and you don't have any name or anything, right? That is called as instance block. That is something like whatever variable you create within your class are called instance variables, and whatever block you create without any name, it's basically an anonymous block. You don't have any name created for it, but that is within your bank class. So as per your JVM, the execution would be your static, then it will look for your instance block. So within the bank, before creating the object new bank, it will actually load your bank class. So on your load, it will actually look for your instance block, and that gets executed as a second attempt. And finally, when you create your object, only then the default constructor gets created and your object is instantiated with the value, and a memory get created in your heap. So that would be your final one. So if you create your bank object with the relevant ID and name, right, passing as the parameters, then your parameters constructor would have been populated here. So you got idea about these things, right? The order of execution, how exactly your system loads your code, or the call stack of your entire code piece. You have any idea? Like, you have any questions?
So parameter will come before default, right? That's what you
No. Kirba, can you go to your bankfunc.java and create one more object? Okay, bank obj1 equal to new bank, and within that you have to give two names. One is ID, which is an int, so just give some number, and the second one is your name, so you have to give within double quotes. Okay, now can we compile this class and execute bank func? So if you see, with static and constructor got executed only once, and your default constructor got executed since he has created one object obj. So the first three lines are for your obj. The second one, right, your instance object, like the instance constructor will not be created. The default constructor will not be created. Instead, your parameter constructor got created because we created the second object with parameters. So your default constructor has no value here. Okay, so based on your object creation, your constructor gets invoked, either a default or a parameterized. So are you good with this, Janaki?
Oh, yes, Nigha, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, fine. So now you understood about these things, right? The order of execution of your piece of code. Now, the second thing, can you create getters and setters for your methods in the bank.java?
Okay.
Yeah. So within that, always have a practice. Your getters and setters should come after your constructor. So that helps you to know where your actual object gets created and where are your methods to be evaluated. So your template should look like class, variables, constructor, and then your methods.
So after this static block, I
after
can...
this, you can create your methods. So, so you have given everything as private. So create setter and getter.
Okay.
So others parallelly do it in your system, and if you have any issues, you can let me know.
So this keyword, shall I use it or without?
No, don't use the keyword. I'm yet to come into that. You can give any argument. Like whatever you give, it will assign. But why we are going to this is something I need to tell based on this. Yes.
Yeah. If you use same name, it will be a little confusing, right? So I'm changing it.
Why so?
If I use customer name here and also customer name is equal to customer name.
Yeah, that is why we are going with this keyword. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for this particular constructor, right? Once you create your setters in your constructor, right now, can you just modify the name as you have in your variable once you're done with it in your constructor?
Okay. That parameter is constructor. Okay.
Yeah, in the
This one, right?
arguments, just have the same cust ID and cust name.
I didn't get you.
Yeah, in the line number 11, right? You have the arguments as ID and name. Just modify to the same variable name you have defined outside your method.
Okay.
Yeah. So why we are going with this keyword? So there's something called this keyword in Java. Why we need to go for that? Because whenever you're creating some instance variables, right? So basically instance variables are your line number 3, 4, and 5. So whenever you're creating those variables and whenever you're using the same variable or you're setting some value to that variable, in that case, the system gets confused for which value are you using if you're using the same name. So in the outside line number 3, I have cust ID. In line number 11, I again have int cust ID. So when system try to create a stack reference in your program for this particular program, when your JVM gets created, it gets confused for which I need to go and assign the value or the object value. So it gets confused. To avoid that ambiguity, right? And to resolve that kind of conflict between your instance variable and the parameter which you have passed through your constructor or through your methods, for that purpose, Java has introduced a keyword called this. And why do we need this and where should I use? Should I use for my instance variable or should I use for my parameter? This is some question we always get it. So on your left side in line number 12, there's something called cust ID that is equal to some cust ID. So which cust ID is which? So the 12 number which is getting assigned on your left side is the instance variable or an argument. So we get confused whenever we use a similar name. To avoid that, they have what called as this keyword. So can you just type this dot before that cust ID in line number 12? Yeah. So if you type this dot cust ID, you're actually referring to your instance variable, which is in line number 3 and not to your parameter, which you have passed in line number 11. So though your variable names are similar, you're actually referring to your actual instance variable throughout your program. So for that purpose, we brought this keyword into the picture. So that is what he have used in his existing piece of code. Okay, this is not mandatory like every time your parameter name and your instance name should be same. Say why do we go with the same name is to avoid the confusion. Like if you're writing a huge project and piece of code, you might not use different names. You need to search for different variable names. So for that purpose, they have brought this keyword where you can use the same name in your arguments as well. Since your argument scope is only within that particular piece of code, it will not be accessible outside. If you want to access outside, you have to use this dot cust ID or this dot cust name throughout your program. That is where the class variables are accessible. But if you're creating an object and if you're trying to access the cust ID, it will still point your line number 3 cust ID and not line number 11 cust ID because its scope is only within that particular object. That is from line number 11 to line number 15, not more than that. So any questions here?
This parameter can be used only for the constructor thing or even for the method section?
No, even if you're setting the value, right, in line number 25. So right now he has given int ID. Instead, if he has passed the value as int cust ID, there he can give this dot cust ID equal to cust ID. Okay, so basically this keyword can be used throughout your program, either in your methods or in your variables or in your constructor. Basically, why we are using this is like you're telling that my instance variable has to be assigned with that value and not the parameter. To differentiate your instance variable and the parameter, though they are the same name, that is why we're using this keyword.
Okay.
You got it, Janaki?
Yes, Nega. Mostly for the arguments parameter, right? Like to
No,
refer that
mostly
way.
for your instance variables. If you're using a similar naming convention within your arguments and you're assigning some value to your instance variable. So basically you're giving X in the class level as well as X in your parameter, and I'm giving X equal to X. I don't know which X is what, right? To avoid that confusion, we are using this keyword to mention that this X is my class level variable and not the method level variable.
Method level variable. Okay, okay. Yeah, got it now. Thanks.
Okay, so right now you learned about the static block, instance block, how the execution of your code goes, and why do we need this keyword. Okay, now yeah, you can proceed with the getter method, Kiruba.
Okay.
Yeah, you can have the same ID. That shouldn't be a problem. You can just create. Yeah, you can actually create get later also. Right now we don't need.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have started, you can go ahead. Yeah. And all your setter methods will be with void return type, and all your get methods will be there with the return type. So all your setter methods have a return type as void. So since you're typing in the command in the editor, you're having difficulty to type it. Once you start using your editor, this editors provide you a feasibility to create them automatically without any manual intervention. So, but right now to get you understand this, it's always better to start by typing by yourself the getter and setter to get practice. And once you're good, we can start using the editor. And you have to use a keyword written within the line number 42 when you're returning the custody or cust name.
So do we need this here, Sneha? This one?
Yeah,
this
return
keyword?
space. Yeah, because your method has return type. No, you don't need to give this dot. You can give
Okay.
even if you wanted to. Anyway, it works.
Okay.
Maybe you can give for the next one with this dot cust name. That shouldn't be any problem. The method name should be get cust name, not set. Yeah. Return balance. Yeah. So right now he has created an actual Pojo class looks like. So it has the attributes, it has the constructor, it has the methods of getters and setters to access your private data. Now at the thing pending, which is your functionalities or the features of this particular bank. So the first one will be your deposit. Okay, let's think you're doing a deposit right now. So can you create a method as deposit?
With return type?
So, yeah, public. Your return type for deposit is just void. Whoever entering some amount, they just need to have a message. They don't want the actual value what they deposited, right? It's just void deposit, and you're gonna get some value from the user, right? So that will be your argument. So int amount.
Balance is float.
Yeah, you can, if you're using float, go with float. Yeah, float amount. Right now you're getting the amount from the user, and within that you're going to do things. So see, you need to do some condition. My amount is a right value, only then I can perform my action. If my amount is 0, I can't do it. I can't consider it as a deposited amount, right? I need to give a check there. So how can I give that check?
We can use if condition.
Yes. So what can I give in the if condition?
Amount is greater than 0.
But you're using float data type, so you should give
0.0.
yes. And then you can open your brace, and within that you're going to write your condition. So once my amount is greater than 0, you're going to do a deposit. So basically you're adding it to your balance amount.
Balance.
So you have a balance attribute where you're gonna get like this dot balance plus my amount. Okay, cool. Now create one more method. And one more thing, whenever you're writing this piece of code, always try to use the indentation. So how your indentation has to be? It has to be separated by one space. So if you're in a line number, if you have 54, you have your method, give one space and start your if block. Okay. Basically, you can give your enter space. Yeah. And within the same if block, like in the 57 line, it has to end again with one space. Yes.
57.
50, sorry, 58. 58, give one more space. So this is a one more block, right? Your method is not yet closed. So if you see in 54, you have opened your method, but it is not closed, right? This should be your structure. Like always have the indentation, because when you're writing a huge program, you can have multiple if and for loops. So you might get confused where your code starts and ends. If you are maintaining the indentation, it helps you to easily find out where the actual error is. Okay. Now, can you go to your, can you rename your deposit in line number 61 to withdraw? So here you're going to do the same check. You're validating again the amount. If he enters 0, you're not going to consider. But here the operation you're going to perform is you're going to minus your amount. Same amount, but instead of plus, you're going to do minus. That's it. That is the only difference you're going to do in the withdraw. No, in the line.
We need to do one more check, right? Withdrawal amount should be less than balance.
Less than?
Balance. Like
yeah, that would be the additional check. But right now, I'm just validating only from the user perspective in a very basic criteria.
Okay.
Okay. So you're just doing the perform. Like we will build the application slow by slow. Right now, we are creating the small pieces of code. Okay. So we are done with deposit method. We are done with withdraw method. We are good with here. Now the user can come and check like what was my total balance, right? He wants to check his balance there. So then we'll have to give the actual value he has in your account. For that, we need to have one more method. Yeah, after line 66, you have to create one method which has to return him the value, right? Basically, the total balance, whatever he has, we have to return that.
We are returning in getter, right? Yeah.
Okay. So we have that balance amount. Cool. So we don't need to create it. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Right now we don't have values anywhere defined for deposit, right? The initial amount, whatever he has as a balance. So let's fetch it from the user itself. How can we do that? Okay. Let me share my screen to understand that. And before that, whenever you're trying to write your program, always make sure your entire class has something called package. Okay. Can you scroll to your top of your class? Yeah. So right now he just has public class bank. So he doesn't have the package. So we need to have the package here, and we need to use that package predominantly. And why do we need to use that package is something I'll share my screen right now and tell you. You can stop sharing, Kirba.
Yeah.
Okay. So every time you need to have the package. So the structure of your class looks like your package. Then you have your import, like whatever class you're importing from the classes which you have created or from the Java inbuilt packages, that would be coming your second section. And post that only your actual code template begins in. Okay. So now, so far we were like initializing the value by ourselves. So like whatever we want to initialize, we are just giving x equal to 10 and we are initializing it. But sometimes we might to get input from user, right? We need to get a dynamic value, not static value. For that purpose, Java is giving something called scanner class, okay? Which is in the java.util package. Okay. So we have multiple packages. By default, okay, Java brings you all the methods, right, from the java.lang package. Okay, so this is the default package which need not be imported. That is where you're able to create new object and you're able to access it, right? Which is by default we have that and we don't need it. So you don't need to import this java.lang explicitly, it is implicitly provided. But if you want to use some other functions, in that case, you need to import them explicitly. So right now my scanner class is present in util package. Okay. So similar to util, we have multiple packages in Java. You'll get to understand the usage of each package as you start going. So right now, this particular scanner class comes from a util. if I go into my util, here you can see my util package, right? Here you can see like multiple package structure for zip, and you can have for stream, you can have for the function, you have for concurrent. Like these are the terms you'll get to know basically in a little classes, like in another 10 to 15 classes you'll get to know completely. But these are the packages and the inbuilt classes provided by Java under the package util. You have time package, you have NIO package, you have IO package. So these are the packages you have from your Java. And as we learned earlier, all your dot class files will get executed from your runtime jar, which is provided in your bin package, right? Under JRE. So that is the rt.jar. From that particular thing, you have all your JDK related tools, which can help you to build your application. So now coming to scanner. So what exactly the scanner does? So the scanner is again a class. So the object creation would be like scanner reference equal to new scanner, but something it accepts within this. So far you learned like system.out.println something to print your data. The same way, if you want to consume your data, we have something called system.in. So right now, just know this keyword. I'll describe you the entire structure in another 2 to 3 classes. Okay. So once you get your input, right, you can consume that input using the scanners method. So this particular scanner class has multiple methods and variables. So if you see here, so we have something called hasNext, a Boolean. We have something called as next, which is written in string, which has something called remove. And there are multiple methods like Boolean, which can accept one kind of parameter. And there are multiple methods, okay? So basically, if I wanted to find next, right? I have next int, I have next. So there are multiple methods. But right now we are going to use only 2 things. You can explore this particular scanner.java by using your own way. So right now we are going to fetch one input from the user. So what I'm doing is I'm just giving a character. So whatever user gives me, I'm just going to fetch only one character. And same way, I can create one more instance. So right now, let me try with character. So how you have to create your object is scanner reference equal to new scanner, and you have to pass this. And once you get your scanner, you're going to use next if it's a string or a character. If you're using some integer value, you have something called scanner dot next int or next byte, next float. As per your data type, you have the relevant methods to use in. And if the particular scanner, like if you're getting multiple data from the user, like every time the user is giving input or not, only if he has given me, I need to progress. If not, I don't want to progress. In that case, we can use something called hasNext. It's basically like, yes, the user has given me the input, true or false. Based on that, I might proceed. For that purpose, we have this method called hasNext. So right now, let's go with this piece of code. Let me execute this. So whenever you execute this, right now I just printed enter the character. So once you get your enter the character, it will ask me to give some input. So I'm going to give HH. So what happened, though I give a complete string, the next is something which can accept more than one string, but I'm just fetching only one. So leave this particular value. Right now I'm giving this character. So let me take it as string. Okay. So let me re-execute again. So don't need to worry about character yet. I'm yet to teach on those methods. So just learn how to get your dynamic data. So I'm giving something and I'm just printing it. So whenever you want to get your data dynamically, you can use this scanner class. So let me try with next